Hey everyone, what is good? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to or watching the Powercast. And today we will be recapping Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 4, Episode 3, and the title of the episode is Birthright. And I'm joined today by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing today, Richard?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
What's up, indeed? And I am also joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you doing today, Dana?
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me is happy to be here.
Good, and we're happy to have you also. So yeah, episode 3, that was a very interesting episode. We have a lot to discuss because quite a few things happened in this episode. Like we had a death, we had some revelations going on, so there's quite a lot to unpack here. So, I won't delay it too much with the takeaways, but, just want to give a big shout out to the audience and thank everybody who continues to, contribute to the conversation and leave comments and all that good stuff. We really appreciate you guys, and the way you carry on all of the discussions from the show in the comment section. Thank you to everyone. So, if you're listening to this, please do leave a comment, hit the like button also, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Dana's always got interviews and stuff going up with the cast, and, she also covers other shows on the Koalition Entertainment channel. So, if you haven't checked that out yet, check that out also. But yeah, I won't delay too much. Let's get right into the takeaways because there is a lot to talk about with this one. So this week is Richard Bailey Jr.'s turn to go first with the takeaways. So Richard, when you're ready.
All right. First and foremost, I thought this was a very interesting episode of Power. I mean, I personally thought it was pretty good. I can't wait to hear what you and Gary, what both Gary and Dana have to say, because we may have some different opinions on this episode. But there's a lot to unpack, as Gary said, so I'm just going to go right into my 3 takeaways. Anything I don't address, we will obviously talk about. But first and foremost, let me start off by giving a shout out to Obi, because we knew that this character was going to meet his end, and it finally happened in this episode. So shout out to Obi. I know we can definitely blame Gary for this because he is behind all of this green card stuff. We spoke about that for the last 2 weeks. So Gary, he escaped death in this episode, but yeah, that's his boy Obi went out bad. So rest in peace. Okay, so my 3 takeaways. Takeaway number 1, I want to get into Tariq and Braden in this episode. Right at the start of the episode, we saw Tariq and Braden sell their cars. And I want to give a shout out to Dana because she had an excellent theory last week where she said, why would Tariq want to have that flashy car where he knows that Carter is going to be on his tail? So I'm very glad that they were very self-aware of that, and they made Tariq and Braden self-aware of that. So they got rid of their cars, of course, because they needed to make money, which they got some money. Now, obviously, as this episode progressed, you saw that Tariq had this plan. Once again, this is the type of stuff that Ghost would do. This manipulator plan he saw that they actually had they were trying to get a new connect. They went through Davis to get that new connect. And Davis did say, I want 20%. So obviously, Davis is fully invested into whatever Tariq is doing now. I will get into that a little bit later, why that's not a good thing. But Davis is pretty much involved in what Tariq is doing. But as a measure to get in, Tariq has this plan where they need to get this guy to lower the price and to also they want to eventually take them out and replace Roman, who is the guy that I was working for. But you saw what happened to him in this episode. So I'm actually out of a job right now. I was supposed to be delivering, be on that delivery. And luckily I wasn't there because a lot of chaos happened. But I'm out of a job right now. So if you know of any jobs, help a brother out. But pretty much what ends up happening is Tariq's plan works out masterfully. He tells Effie there is somebody selling drugs on campus, and this might be a competitor for you. And again, just the I don't know what the right word is, the sliminess, the pettiness of Tariq, because obviously we know that Tariq was not happy when he had the interaction with Effie last week. He made it very clear that he wasn't going to forgive her. And of course, when he came to her in this moment to basically try to say, hey, I'm trying to help you out business-wise, I'm just letting you know about this, when really he's trying to use it as a way for him to get back in the game. Very underhanded tactic, but it's definitely something that Ghost would do. So shout out to him for that. So they work out their plan, and eventually they are able to get a deal done by the end of the episode. We'll find out next week where that goes. But two other quick things I want to mention about how this all went down. One thing I thought was very interesting is the conversations that Braden had with Tariq in this episode, where Tariq is very clear. They have to always be honest with each other, but yet Tariq is kind of holding back on some information he tells Braden until after he does it, because all this stuff with Effie, Braden didn't know about any of this until after Tariq had already did the plan and had everything in motion. So that kind of makes me curious to see what happens with these two moving forward, how they coexist, how they work together. The other thing about this episode with Braden is that you saw that obviously we know that Braden likes the singer that's in that group that Broomshilda is in. And you know that the girl and the singer in that group is basically, she's using drugs. Towards the end of this episode, Braden takes a sniff of some nose candy. Now, I don't really know if that's a good sign of what could happen with him later. Obviously, he's into this girl, so I want to see where they're going with that. But one other parallel to mention is that, you know, his sister Becca also got kicked out of the dorms this episode, and she also got high. So clearly, he still is concerned about his sister. The fact that they are using, now we don't know if this is going to become a habit for Braden. We have to wait and see what happens. But Tommy is another character. And I like how they made mention of Tommy in this episode when they went to do the deal. And the guy says he's familiar with Ghost and Tommy. And he's like, he tells Tariq, oh, you got yourself another white boy like Tommy. And he asked him, are you as crazy as Tommy? So Braden did get a little high in this episode. We don't know if it's a habit yet. But I like the parallels of because obviously we as viewers have been making these comparisons, saying, yeah, like Braden feels like this is just like Ghost and Tommy all over again. So I like that the show is self-aware to make these type of jokes and comments about it. But obviously, let's see what happens. And lastly, to stay on this particular topic about Tariq, Braden, and then now Davis, I made the comment earlier about Davis making sure that he's now very closely tied to Tariq, what Tariq is doing. He also is trying to distract Noma from what's happening. And that's the very clear thing, because Tariq told Davis, we cannot let Noma know what we're doing. They cannot find out. And of course, Tariq's whole motivation of wanting to do this is to get back in the game, but also to get payback on everybody that did him wrong. So I want to see where they're going with that. But with Davis, we have to remember that his brother, rest in peace, warned him about not getting involved, doing anything illegal, because it could come back on him later. Obviously, I do think by the end of the season, Davis could get arrested or something could happen with Davis, because now that you are tied so closely to Tariq, something bad is coming for both of those characters. All right, so we have to wait and see what happens. But overall, I'm very curious to see what happens from here. The way they work together in this episode, it's great. They've been on the same page for the entirety of this season so far, but I want to see what happens that changes that whole direction of what's happening with everything. So stay tuned for that. Okay, my second takeaway of this episode, we're going to talk about Kane and Drew, because since this show started and since we've had Lorenzo pretty much having to make decisions about who he would want to become his successor, you've had this whole thing about brother versus brother. And I find it very interesting how even Noma is trying to do this as well, because I'm sure that everybody saw the scene where she sent the text to both Kane and Drew. And when she sent the text, it's two different messages. She told Drew, Obi is missing. I want you to investigate his disappearance. She told Kane, Obi is not here to take over his responsibility, so I need you to come here and do his job. Very interesting, right? Because that tells you right there, she obviously is more interested in working with Kane than Drew. But later in this episode, when it is finally revealed that Obi, he has to contact somebody, he gets in contact with his brother, and then he finds out that Drew is there. Drew tells, he tries to tell Drew, don't tell Noma about the police questioning me. Let them only think that they're coming after me. Don't say anything to this about Noma. And then as soon as Drew gets an opportunity, he turns on Obi. And that causes Obi to get killed in front of everybody. So obviously, Drew was determined to advance himself within Noma's career. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens now between him and Kane. And obviously, we saw in this episode, Kane finally got close to Noma. I alluded to this when I made a comment last week that Kane was going to have a conversation with Effie and basically tell her, hey, you're not jealous, are you? But you saw that Effie picked up on that interaction that Noma and Kane had prior to it, to them hooking up later in the episode. So obviously, Kane is pretty much, I think, in a good position now. He's basically has gained some type of relationship with Noma. She trusts him to some degree. I do want to see where this is going. I do want to see how this further complicates the issues between him and Drew. And obviously, when you saw what happened at the very end of the episode, which I'm about to get into, now it clearly is going to be a very complicated situation, because when Monet had that whole meltdown at the end of the episode, you saw Kane running outside as if he was going to try to shoot and stop Diana and Drew, and he couldn't do it. So I can't wait to see what happens. Obviously, Drew still wants that spot that Kane has, so this is a showdown that absolutely is going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen by the mid-season finale. It's definitely going to happen, though, soon, and I can't wait to see where that goes. And finally, let's get to the final takeaway of this episode. Shout out to Dana in her dinner scene drama situations, because that's exactly what we got in this episode with Monet, and the revelation that now she knows that Drew and Diana basically tried to have her killed. Now, prior to that, I want to give the writers credit, because they had that whole scene where she knew that Diana was lying to her, and they threw in the flashback of how she knew this because of what they did when they were kids. That was an awesome way to use the flashback and explain to everybody exactly how she knew that Diana was lying, by her tells and her fidgeting of her hand. So that was awesome. I also will say, though, Monet, by far, a absolutely horrible, terrible parent. Because who the hell has their kids doing this type of work? That's the first thing I thought of. What the hell? How could anybody have any sympathy for this character after that? Come on now. We saw in the previous episodes how she treats her kids, even when you had Kane as a baby in the crib and the gun. It's like, come on, guys. This character, there is no redemption for the character. Maybe she is going to get killed. Shout out to Tracy Lee, because she also thinks this character is going to get killed. So I have to believe that's why they're showing all of this, to show you that it's a well-deserved kill. But yeah, very interesting. But I like how they use the flashback in this episode to really emphasize what she was doing. And then, of course, the last point I will mention is that Broomshilda finds out that Diana is pregnant. Now, she is the only one that knows that Diana is pregnant. And I recall I said last week they're probably going to take their time to really explain this and to reveal who the father is. So maybe by the mid-season finale, we'll know finally who the father is. But there's a lot of drama happening on the show with the Tejada family. Diana and Drew, they should be concerned for their lives. Monet obviously is conflicted. And of course, Kane, he and his brother, I cannot wait for that showdown, because that should be pretty epic when it happens. They've been building that for quite some time. So that pretty much is my takeaways for this episode. There are a couple other things that happen, some other key details I do want to mention, but we'll get into that later. I definitely want to hear what Gary and Dana have to say about this episode, though.
No, excellent takeaways. Always great observations from Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. And, since you are out of the job, after the van went up in flames, I did hear that there's 2 drug dealers from Stansfield that are hiring now, so you might be able to switch sides and get yourself a new a new job. So,
We'll see
but
about
yeah,
that. We'll see about that.
but no, yeah, excellent takeaways. A lot of what you said, I'm gonna touch on in my takeaways, and then of course, we'll have our questions and discussions later as well. But yeah, great takeaways. So I'm going next this week, so let me go ahead and give mine. My first takeaway is that see, I really liked this episode, and that's because like it felt like everybody was playing chess in this. In particular, Tariq and Kane. Now let me focus on Kane first. So like Kane was playing chess because like he obviously like he wants that position. Like he wants to be in the spot that Obi was in. And then I guess the long game is to basically take over, eventually. But he for now he wants to be in that number 2 spot under Noma, right? And we see that him and Drew are kind of fighting for that position in this episode. And once he realizes that Noma might actually have a thing for him, he kind of like hones in on that, and he's making it like so he gets it on with Noma kind of later on in the episode because they kiss, right? But he's doing that as a way in, basically. He's kind of using that attraction as his way in to get into that spot. And the reason I think so is because earlier on in the episode, we see that he's at Effie's dorm. He's staying with Effie essentially, or it's implied that he stayed the night with her. And during that earlier scene, they looked to be on very good terms with each other. Like they seem to really like be affectionate and caring about each other and stuff. But then, through the course of the episode, we see that rift between them, as there becomes some tension between Effie and Kane, basically, especially once, Tariq makes his move and he kind of uses Effie to, you know, put it out there that there's another supplier on Stansfield and stuff like that. And then that leads to Kane suspecting Effie, of working with Tariq kind of thing. So yeah, that kind of puts a rift between them. And then also Effie walked in when there was that moment between Noma and Kane where Noma first showed attraction to him. Like she walked in, she noticed what was going on, and she actually brings that up later on when she's arguing with Kane, and Kane's like shutting her laptop and stuff. Like, it's first of all, let me just say, it's very annoying when people do that. Like, I can have some important stuff on the screen. Like, please never close my laptop. I swear. Like, it's gonna get ugly after that. But yeah, that's a pet peeve. I don't like when people do that. But yeah, um, yeah. So there's a lot of tension between Effie and Kane, and so I think like, and he even tells Effie. Kane even tells Effie himself like, I'm trying to get to the top spot basically. So he lets her know what it is. Like he lets her know basically that he's going to use this as a way in, to take over basically, like this attraction with Noma. So, and then, after that is when he goes to see her basically. And then they start kissing and stuff. So Kane is playing chess. He's playing the long game. And this situation with Drew now, like how the episode ends, this presents a big opportunity for him to kind of take out any opposition. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kane moves throughout the next couple episodes. And then, as far as playing chess, I have to say Tariq was making the best moves in this episode. Like just the way he executed his plan. So of course, they went to the Fight Club, which is run by Zion, the New Connect. And first of all, I thought it was great how Zion acknowledged who Tariq is, like, and the fact that he knows his father and he knows of Tommy, like because he referenced both Ghost and Tommy. I like that because I feel like this show, it there's been times throughout this show where like they've tried to kind of diminish Ghost's character and what he represented and his influence over the city, but now it seems like they're acknowledging it, because that is a big part of Tariq's story, Ghost's legacy. So I'm glad that they're acknowledging that, and the fact that there's other characters who recognize those characters. I think that's good. And then he even says something to Braden along the lines of, "Are you as crazy as Tommy?" I thought that was cool. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute with the second takeaway, but that was cool. So yeah, like obviously they're a bit short on money to get the supply from Zion, and then they see Roman come in, who's like another another dealer who's working with Roman, and he throws the samples on the table, and Tariq, he instantly seizes the opportunity to take the samples, and then he shows it to Effie later, asking her about it, saying like, "Is this your new branding or whatever?" And then he suggests to her that maybe somebody else is selling on Stansfield, and then Effie brings that back to Kane and Noma, and then that leads to well, first of all, Noma suggests that they get rid of Roman because he's selling on their turf. And then, that leads to Richard's van getting blown up, getting set on fire. So, but yeah, so like that, just how Tariq executed that, it took a lot of cunning, and it's a very ghost-like move. So I like that, because this is the stuff that Ghost used to do. Like he used to think like 5 steps ahead, or whatever. So I like to see that, in Tariq, because it's like he's really sort of becoming his father, and I think that's where they're trying to go this season, like making him kind of become, the final form kind of thing. So yeah, I liked that. I liked the whole playing chess throughout this episode. It was entertaining to watch. Second takeaway is about Braden, and going back to Zion, when he made that comparison to Tommy, um, I thought that was interesting because now I could see the start of maybe Braden's character changing a little bit, because first of all, and I believe me and Richard talked about this, but first of all, like he seemed to be really intrigued by the whole cage fighting thing when they were walking past. So I'm wondering if maybe that would be something that he would be willing to try later on. Like maybe if they get into trouble and they owe a debt to Zion, maybe like a suggestion is made, like, okay, you can make it up by fighting or something like that, and maybe Braden decides to step in the ring, because that's something like I could see Tommy doing. Like that's something I could see him possibly doing in the like. Tommy's a very physical, very rough kind of guy. So, and then later on, in the episode, we see Braden obviously has a crush on the singer. I can't remember her name at the moment, but that singer on campus and stuff. And yeah, Rich, you know her
Her
name?
name is her name is Trouble.
Trouble?
Yes, she's trouble. She's trouble.
Oh
Stay
yeah.
away.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, big trouble, big trouble. Yeah, and the reason she is trouble is because she influences Braden, making him take some of the blow. Like he takes a line of coke, and that's never going to lead to good things, because once you get that high, you're probably going to want it again, especially when you're around that atmosphere where everyone's enjoying themselves and everyone has access to the drug. More than likely, he's going to take another sniff again, and then it's going to keep spiraling out of control. So yeah, I think he's going to get, you know, hooked on the stuff, or he's going to become a frequent user of the stuff. And we know that this is something Tommy used to do also. Tommy would actually sniff the stuff with his mum, with Kate, like, so they made it a whole event, to sniff together. So, um, and yeah, like, and then after that, he comes up with this whole distribution plan as well with Tariq of, maybe we could use this group and we can, set up parties and we could sell the stuff, at these parties. And all we have to do is promote, the music and everything and sell the band and, all that stuff. So to me, I feel like this is the way this episode is. It's like it's setting up for Braden to become a bit more rough around the edges, because previously he has been like a very privileged child, with his family and everything. But now his family, they've kind of lost their position a little bit. Like we see his sisters getting evicted, their names removed from, the school and all that stuff. So his family has taken a hit and he doesn't have that lifeline to rely on as much anymore. So this is kind of forcing him to be a bit more, rough around the edges and to, um, go a different route than he's gone before. So I think we're seeing, the beginnings of Braden's character becoming a bit more darker. Um, and I know it's not always good to compare Tariq and Braden to Tommy and Ghost because they are their individual people, but they, you have to make the parallel because this is the Power universe, and it there's a lot of parallels there. There's a lot of mirroring between those two duos. So yeah, I feel like this they're trying to allude to the fact that Braden is going to become, a more darker and unhinged character, like what Tommy used to be. So um, yeah, that's my take on that. And final takeaway. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've all got this on our takeaways. We have to, I have to address the dinner table, the dinner table scene. I know Dana loves a good dinner table scene with the Tejadas. And yeah, we got a pretty juicy one today. Um, so first of all, I didn't expect Monet. Dana's got the cereal at the dinner table. But yeah, I didn't expect Monet to find out about the lie this early. Like, but yeah, basically Pinky sent the picture. Is it Pinky? I think it's Pinky. Yeah, she sent the video to both Tariq and Monet, and Monet saw, the ring cam footage of Diana in a wig going to Kate's house and everything. So now she knows that Diana lied, because and first of all, I love how they did that whole fidgeting thing. That's why I chose this name. I never fidget, you know. But that whole fidget flashback, I kind of like stuff like that, like, just how they expand on different things. Like I kind of enjoyed that whole sequence where, she asked her about the whole Kate stuff, and Diana was like, Kate, who's Kate? I don't know who Kate is. And you see her fidgeting with her fingers and stuff. And then they go to the flashback, and Monet's making her kids bag up drugs and all this stuff, and basically telling them to lie about what they're doing. And then we see Diana fidgeting, and she's like, "Don't fidget when you're lying" and stuff, like, So all of that was interesting to see. We see how much of an evil mother that Monet is, getting her kids to do that stuff and encouraging them. But yeah, uh, I really liked that first of all, but then yeah, like just I'm shocked, man. I'm shocked. I didn't expect the revelation to come out this early, and I think that now Drew is going to try and protect his sister as much as he can, but with how Kane reacted, I think it's going to lead to trouble in the next episode. Like Kane is going to be directly coming for both of them, and if I'm correct, I'm not sure, but I think Kane and Drew both still live together, right? Don't they still live together at Mecca's place? I think.
Uh, I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I know that Diana and Drew were staying in there. They were there, yeah, but that won't be the
Okay.
case anymore.
Okay, yeah. So I think what's gonna happen is Diana is gonna have to hide out somewhere because she is pregnant. So she knows that she has to get out of, any kind of dangerous situation that could occur. So I think she's gonna find somewhere else to stay, and I think maybe that may lead to her contacting Salim because we know he is going to be in this season. So maybe she'll try and stay with him or something because like it might be a bit too suspect to stay with Tariq or something like so. I think she might go to Salim first, and who knows, maybe that is who she believes the father to be as well. So she might, like go to him and be like, look, I got to tell you something. I'm pregnant, and try and basically stay with him, like just take herself away from what's going on. And I think the direct conflict will be between Kane and Drew um, at first, because we see in this episode they were both kind of fighting for position a little bit. So I think Kane is going directly at Drew first because they know that he also lied. He knew about what Diana did, and that's why he immediately tried to protect her. So I think the next episode is probably gonna be like, Drew. I mean, sorry, Kane going right for Drew, like Kane and Drew basically. Like it's gonna be a battle between them. And eventually, I'm thinking whatever happens with Diana, I think that's gonna happen in episode 5. So whether she dies or whatever, I think something is coming in episode 5, something major regarding Diana and her baby. So yeah, but I think Kane is going directly for Drew next, I think. So that's my take on it. But yeah, I loved the whole episode, man. Like this was very entertaining. I like what what Richard said about Davis McLean as well, about Davis McLean kind of rebelling because we know that his brother basically wanted to keep him out of trouble. Like he wanted his brother, like sorry, Davis McLean's brother wanted him to stay with the legal stuff basically and stay out of the streets. But now that he's dead, it's like, he's like, who cares, like it doesn't matter no more. Like my brother's dead. So why not, and I hit rock bottom. I lost my license and all that stuff. So why not play in these streets, So that's interesting. But yeah, those are my takeaways. And I think Dana had something she wanted to say about my takeaways. So go ahead, Dana.
I don't want to say nothing. No, I want to say a couple things. And I'm going to try to be as gentle. And I want you guys to understand I love power. So I'm not saying it's like, oh my God, you're just a hater. Oh my God, you're so negative. No. But for me, I appreciate what this episode was doing. But I felt that some of the executions were wobbly wibbly. And it further made me upset watching this episode about last week's episode when the return of Stansfield. Because you saw with this episode, that return to Stansfield was not needed. Unless you want to establish, oh, these are two broke college kids who need money. Everybody is a broke college kid who needs money unless you're a legacy baby. So to me, I felt that again, there was no need for the use of Stanford. And they can still go on Stanford, you know, even if you're suspended and you're kicked out of the school, because again, there's really no security at that school, which is why that shooting was able to occur on the campus in the first place. There is no security. There is no you must show the ID cards just to get in. There is no lockdown procedure. Why am I still at Stansfield? I do not understand why. At this point, I'm very frustrated with that. I am also frustrated because you know I love me a good dinner scene. You know I love when the food is flying and fists are pumping and we about to kill each other and the butcher knife is gonna go around the table. Somebody's getting stabbed. Maybe someone pulls out a gun. This to me was not only just rushed, it felt to me like it was emotionless. Dana, what are you talking about? There was a lot of emotion. Break down the scene for me. Monet finds out that her own daughter, her flesh and blood, wants to kill her. And not just I want to kill you, attempts to actually have her killed. She is shot. She is still recuperating. She is on the oxycodone. She is doing the rehab because she got shot up in a car trying to protect a dumb daughter. You discovered that your kid was the one who did it. My issue with this is Mary J. Love you. No more drama. You had me filled with the dramas and I was screaming and oh my God, I have that. She has a problem with emoting other than screaming. And I wanted this intense buildup of a scene. And instead, she gave me the same emotion that she would do when season one would yell and know at those kids, tell them to go get to work. Go get those drugs on the street. Go make that deal. I just wanted more. And yes, we got that physical altercation where she was about to, I strongly believe she was going to kill that girl in that moment. But the moments leading up to it, I just kind of wish you could have given me more than just screaming and yelling. And then it was, when you're being attacked, when someone is attacking you, when you're the attackee and you're attacking someone, it felt like I'm gonna attack you. Okay, wait, they're holding me back. No, I can't do it. Arg. There could have been more emotion to this. I'm getting to that child no matter what. And yes, you had the two sons, trying to block her down and hold her down. But at the same time, I just felt that it was N1, N2, and block, and and ooh. To me, it felt too stagnated. I wanted that natural free flowing of emotion. And for me, I didn't feel like I got that. And so for me, my dinner scene was rushed. And I didn't like that. And I felt that it was just trying to get to the moment where Kane is running out the house, but he never shot at the car. So this is why I felt like this scene was written in just so we can get to Kane struggling between this is my family, but at the same, I don't want to kill you, but what you did is wrong. But then look at me because I knew. Well, I knew he didn't know. But look at me. He has alternative. He got some other motives that's going on. So I felt like it was just something in order to get to that scene where Kane was to chase them out of the house with the gun, but he never fired. And therefore, we as viewers, he's conflicted. That is his flesh and blood. But at the same time, look what he did to his mama. So I didn't appreciate that. One of the other things, for me, that just kind of sucks is going last because everyone's kind of repeated what I had in my notes. So now I'm just sad because now I'm just feeling like I'm repeating what everybody had to say. I do want to say this. For me, and this is the problem sometimes when you have to balance so many characters at once. I appreciate what they're doing with Tariq. I don't want this to end up being another copy and paste of Ghost, but I understand that it's not because again, and this is the same criticism that I have with people comparing Braden and Tommy. They're not the same. They grew up completely different. He was introduced to me. It felt like out of boredom. Oh, I want to do this. This is something new. This is something exciting. Tommy, this is survival. He just happens to be a little crazy as well. The game makes him, I think he was born with the craziness and being in that environment and in that game, it makes it shine out a little brighter. It brings out that personality that he already possessed. With Braden, I feel that this was something he did out of boredom. And when he went into that fight club, oh wow, look at that. Oh wow, they're fighting. Oh yeah, this is amazing. Because he was never exposed to that. As opposed to Tommy, where he could be like, yeah, okay, that's cool. But even though he's crazy, somebody starts at him, I'm gonna beat you up too. Braden, I don't feel has that. At least not yet. I feel that he has to be taught that. And you can slowly see him being taught that because remember, he was I think it was I don't remember which season it was. He was supposed to kill a guy who I think was like at the Jewish salami deli place, and he didn't, and Tariq had to kill him. And then now when you flash back to a couple episodes when it was with the not the police officer, the detective, Paz's nephew, he was like, come on, what are you doing? Shoot him. Hurry up. So you can see him slowly morphing into that character. But to me, Tommy and Braden are not the same. He comes from money. He just happens to lose all of his money. And this, I feel, is something that's fun and exciting because we already talked about. He has a job and a position. It's in real estate. He just doesn't want to do it because it's boring. And he's not making as much money as he would with the drugs. So it's like, what else you got? Me. I'm white anyway. I'll probably get away with it. Me. The whole sniffing of the cocaine, that right there, doing the drugs, the little snow powder sugar butter, that's a way. And I'm gonna say this, and I hope that I'm sorry that this might be terrible, but if they do end up making him an addict, as opposed to Tommy, who I feel uses it recreationally and knows when to stop. You've never seen him cross that line where I don't know what to do, man. I just need another hit. You never see that. So if they do go that path with Braden and they introduce him and we get, for example, a snowfall with a snow bunny, but we get a snowfall kind of path with Braden, I would appreciate that much more. So I'm all for it. This is the beginning stages of Hunter Biden. I love it. And then kind of lastly, with my wrap up is because y'all took everything away from me anyway, and we're gonna talk about Obi. I just want to talk about one thing really quickly. I do not like you guys said before, I felt that this was rushed, and the whole Obi situation, I felt that he got way too sloppy, and his actions, which if you look at Kane, this is why. Okay, so remember when Obi was like, "Hey, no sugar mama, a little bit, I can ease your pain." To Noma a little bit, and Noma slapped him in the face like, "What is wrong with you?" I don't understand her actions with going with Kane. That completely confuses me. I'm just baffled by that. Because if you're gonna just look at in terms of who would be the better man, maybe she's using her sexuality to manipulate Kane. Maybe that can be made the argument, and maybe she used that to manipulate Obi, which is why when we look at it, we're like, what's going on? Because all of that took place off camera. That's their past and their history. So you could argue that she's treating him maybe kind of the same way that she treated Obi, but just to actually see that done took me completely out of the scene. It took me completely out of her personality. And if you overall look at what the Noma originally started, as you guys mentioned, with the engagement ring, suggest my engagement ring, darling. I'm gonna just take it from your hand to like her rubbing and grinding with Kane. I'm just like, I don't like that progression at all. And I do hope and I do feel that it's being like a double play in terms of she thinks she's manipulating Kane when in actuality it's Kane manipulating her. So I hope that ends up being the outcome. And then the situation with him and Effie, it's really interesting. He likes her, and that's completely undeniable. He's calling her, remember last episode, he called her by her government name. She's turning down the interview in order to make sure he's okay. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that. And I genuinely believe that if she was to say, like, look, I got an interview with the robotics engineering team, he would say, all right, go do that. And you see him helping her, remember, with the money, with the cell phone. So I do genuinely believe that there is something there for them. Now, the fact that she was the one who ended up calling Tariq in episode 1, that could come back, and other things are going to kind of come back to haunt her. And I wonder if he is going to get that emotion where it's like I have to I have to pay to kill you. You broke my heart, that kind of situation. And then he has to be the one to kill her. So that in right there. And I know that y'all said 3, but I'm going to just throw this in here for a little bit, for just 2 seconds. I don't forgot my place, but for 2 seconds, Diana has to go and so does that fetus. I'm sorry. Here's why. And I don't like comparing shows. I'm trying to keep this spoiler free for those who didn't watch not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. But when we saw the death of an innocent, as in an eye for an eye innocent, that left me with feeling overall with this series, we don't have that strongly. We don't have that eye for an eye situation. We don't have that I need you to get down, gritty, and ruthless. Because we've seen the mimic in real life. Well, I killed her and the baby too. Because, she crossed me. When you got too deep into this game. So I do feel that maybe in order to get that grittiness, and we're at the season finale, the series finale, where anything can go at this point, Diana and the fetus needs to go. And I'm sorry, but that's what I have to say about that. And it's all fiction anyway, so it's not like we actually often, real fetuses in paper. But storyline wise, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragons, that baby. I'm sorry.
Oh, whoa. Is that all your takeaways?
That was technically 3.5. I mean, I can keep on going if you got another hour.
No, we'll get to it, but Richard had something he wanted to add as well. So go ahead, Rich.
First and foremost, excellent takeaways by Dana as always, as well as you, Gary. I just want to make a comment because you both made excellent points about Braden becoming a darker character. I just want to make this comment. I do hope that this character has a future beyond this season, because for them to only make this change at the end, and this is the final season, now it will feel rushed. Like, I would love to see, like Dana said, if you have him become an addict or he decides to get into the fighting, that's great. But if all that happens in the course of this season, it's going to definitely feel rushed, because I feel like they could have taken a lot longer to play that out. That's why I hope that he is going to remain in the Power universe beyond this season, if they have plans beyond what is happening for him right now. That's all I was going to say. Go ahead.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry. I strongly believe that they're playing in our faces. That yes, this is the finale of this show, but remember how they said other spinoffs, and Gary Lennon was upgraded for other spinoffs? Yes, Stars is broke, and I'll probably do a separate video on that, because it's much larger than, we don't want to pay everybody. They're broke. Here's the thing. I strongly believe, and there was an interview that was done with TMZ with Giovanni, which is his government name, that he played really coy in terms of, oh my God, this season's over. I don't know what's happening. They won't give us our money. I'm standing for rights. I think that he's not going anywhere in terms of that character. I cannot answer that for Tariq. That I don't know. We have to also take into account, he's been doing this role since he was like, what, 10, 7, 12? A baby. Back when he was a dependent. So I would understand if he wants to move on. Braden is new. And if you really look at it, yes, the show and franchise in general has a tendency of, here are multiple characters, here's your story and their backstory. It really, in a way, felt like this was an origin story for Braden's character. We got to fully know who he is as a person, his family, his likes, his dislikes. We watched him grow. We're seeing him now enter into this universe. And I don't think that it would be smart when you announce all of these spinoffs and all these different shows and what's popping on, and everybody getting limited, short run of the season, even though it got like almost 7 million watchers during the premiere. I don't think that it would be smart to let this character go. And I think that Giovanni has proven himself to the point where he can lead his own show and it'll be okay. So justice for Giovanni. I want to see more of Braden, Hunter Biden, whatever his last name is.
So let me make a quick comment, then we'll go to Gary. So I like what you said, Dana. Let me just make a comment. I look forward to seeing Giovanni, aka Braden, have a spinoff with Jannard where they are pretty much in recovery because they're both addicts. So I look forward to that show. Stars, make it happen.
That's hilarious.
Wait, that is genius. But remember, they're going to another city, because the show is ending. So they go into another city. What happens is, and I know I'm getting so off track, and I'm really sorry, Gary. I'm sorry. I had sugar. I'm sorry. But what happens if this ends up being a part of their spinoff? Because we know they're all going to end up coming back anyway. What happens if this ends up being that other city? No, they're in New York, so they could both leave. Because New York could have to be dead for them. I don't think if you have this show, you can bring it back in New York City. If you're doing a spinoff of a spinoff, you have to leave the state. So Tommy,
what
we
city
already
would
know
you
is
go
leaving.
to? Which
Yeah, I
city?
always wanted Miami. I always wanted Miami. Isn't that like we're all like the Steelers and that's where the dude with my little friend is from.
Tony Montana.
Right? Yeah, isn't
Yeah.
Tony Montana from Miami or Cuba or one of the places? Water.
He,
Who doesn't like
he went
water?
from Cuba to Miami, yeah.
There you go. Put him in Miami. He was originally supposed to go to Miami, remember? But then it was like, oh no, let's go to Chicago, where like the weather's terrible and the people are boring.
He was supposed to go to LA, I think. He was supposed to go to LA.
It's supposed to be California, yeah. And then they said no.
Well, then there you
And
go. Out California.
Then Joseph Sikora said, no, I don't like California, so we're not going there.
Well, who in the world likes, this is how you know that. Who likes Chicago? What are they going to do? Like, they could put it in Boston, but who really wants to do Boston? Plus, they're doing the Mayor of Kingstown, I think, is in Boston. And I don't want that with that. Not everything should be in Boston. So, just do Miami.
But do you think Miami's too glamorous now? Like, because back in the day, it did have that reputation of being like the coke spot, like because you had the Haitians and Cubans and Colombians and all that stuff. But now it gets a reputation for being like glamorous and a party place and all that stuff. And I guess that is good distribution, like because people are gonna want to take drugs. But
who does not?
like
You're gonna party if you party city.
Don't you want some grittiness in the show too? Like,
Oh.
But at the same time, if we're trying to do a party storyline, we did that in I mean, I don't mean that offensively. I'm so sorry for the people who live in Chicago, but I'm sorry in terms of me wanting my glamour and my sugar booger. I don't want to go to Chicago. Miami has that culture of Dubai. Then do it in Dubai. I don't know. I'm thinking of Housewives now. Dubai. Isn't that where real money is?
They can't go to they can't trap in Dubai because they'll end up in a dungeon or something like because they don't play over there.
Well,
they don't play over there. Like,
well, let me just make a comment and say this. I like Miami, but one thing that we can say, and we did see this in this episode, we learned that Don Carter has no jurisdiction. So that tells me that if they decided to bring Michael Ealy back for another show, he can also show up anywhere. Because you saw that when Camille asked him, he said, oh, no, I got no jurisdiction. I can go wherever I need to go. So that's great. That was a clue. I hope people paid attention to that in the episode because I remember that. I was like, very interesting that they will reveal that.
And I know we did way on track, and I'm so sorry. I love Michael Ealy's scenes because it seems like it's a completely different show where he's like so over the top and dramatic. When he came in with like, so what are these photos then? And he didn't have anything. What are they? And then he threw in the trash all aggressively. It's like some soap opera. I love it. The Spanish soap operas. Oh, he gives me everything. Give him a show because he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's a great addition to the show. I think. Like, I actually enjoy watching him because, like, previously in like Power, like sometimes the cop stuff was annoying, like to watch, but like he does it really like entertaining. So yeah, I think he's a great addition. But yeah, I guess like we can talk a bit more about that announcement because we didn't get to address it and it came out after the last episode and stuff, after we recorded the last episode. But yeah, what do you think about that? The whole Force, is being cancelled after the third season. And do you think that the direction now is to kind of merge these shows, maybe like now that Ghost is ending and Force is ending? Like, is that where we're going? And do you potentially see a scenario where maybe Tommy comes back and he's like a mentor figure for Tariq and Braden, possibly? Like, do you see something like that? Maybe. Like, what's your thoughts on what's going to happen? Just a bit of like speculation. What do you think?
All right,
Go
so
ahead, Rich.
let's let Dana go first because what I have is going to be a little controversial. So let's let Dana go first.
See,
Go ahead,
what
Dana.
happened is with me, if I go, because you see, remember, it's not just the fact that, oh, they're ending. I want people to understand this. Yes, this is money driven. Yes, this is stinky and horrible. And we have seen this repeatedly before. Those of us who are old enough to remember Disney Channel, remember The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, remember Corey in the House, for example. Remember Ravens, what was it? That Raven Simone show. I'm completely forgetting. That's So Raven.
That's so Raven.
Remember
Yeah.
when they, and then all of a sudden, we're getting Raven's House. Then we got The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, but they're now on a boat. And it's literally the same show, but they're on a boat. That's because when you reach a certain amount of seasons and a certain amount of episodes, you gotta start giving out that money. Have to start not just the writers or the actors and everyone. Well, this is why we went on strike. And this is why whenever that strike was over, all of a sudden, all these shows were getting canceled that didn't have a reason to get canceled because they made great numbers. People was watching. It was a thing. So this is a way to not only save money. I also want to make this also clear. Stars is used to be a part of Lionsgate. Lionsgate right now is broke. Think, you guys, if you don't know, Paramount Plus is broke. They're broke. And what they're trying to do is sell off their assets. And by selling off their assets, they can get a wee bit more money to be sustainable. Lionsgate wants to break completely away from stars. So that is what's going on. And we're starting to get a shift and a change of shows. When I went to the world premiere, 50 Cent, now that's going to be posted soon. We got to trickle things out, or else it'll be like 80 videos a day, and that's crazy. But when I was there at the premiere, he talked about the ups and downs that he had with stars. We all know about them Instagram posts and screw you and your mama's a hoe. Oh, I love you, stars, the next day. So it is an emotional roller coaster. But what he's stating to me, not to me, but what he stated in general, was that they have come, it seems to be, don't quote me now, but it seems to be that there is an agreement that this show franchise is going to stay with stars. But in order for, they did not say this part, but it seems to me, in order for them to somewhat stay afloat, and yes, it cheats the actors, the writers, and everyone else involved out of money. In order for that to happen, maybe, this is a theory, they have to keep canceling these shows and bringing them back in another form. So we got Power. Then all of a sudden it's Power Origins. Then it might be Power Forcing with Ghost. Maybe the next show. But we're going to probably, as you guys stated, see that emergence of Ghost and Force. And then also, my thinking, just me, there are certain shows we don't necessarily need that we thought we needed. I love Joseph Sikora. I love the cast of Force. But as we all know, it is not the strongest show. And I strongly believe, and this was also with Joseph Sikora was saying, and he said this previously, especially with season 1, They lost their way. And I believe with the show, remember, we're not going anywhere. I strongly believe they're not going anywhere. But I believe that this is going to probably be a more focused show. So even though, and here's the sad part, it goes back to the other part. When we want to go to, well, me, I'm like, Dubai and Africa, let's go to the UK. I wonder this. Do they even have the money to do that? Will it be we're filming in New Jersey? We're going to pretend that it's Miami. I don't know. So I originally forgot what your question is, Gary, because I rant too much and I had soda.
Oh no, like you gave a lot of great details there, a lot of great information. But yeah, I mean, the question was like what you think basically is going to happen with this, what they're going to do next after the cancellation of Force and Ghost, and is there going to be a spin-off with where they basically combine the cast, Tommy, Tariq, Braden, that was the question. And yeah, you kind of
I initially, I don't want that. If I'm being 1,000% honest, because we lived that with 6 seasons of Ghost. And yes, an adult Tariq is much different than that 10-year-old baby Tariq. But at the same time, I don't want that. I want there to be separation. Church and state, separate them. Because I feel that we can develop and we can grow on our own. And to put it back in together is a way of we're running out of ideas. For example, I'm at another rant, and I'm sorry, I'll be done. But when Andy Cohen, who is the executive producer, he does not own those shows, but the executive producer of all the Housewives shows that's on Bravo, what he stated many, many years ago is the day we run out of ideas is the day when we'll have to start putting different cast members together. And then what do we have? Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, where all these different cast members from different shows come together to go on this one show. And that's what I think will end up happening with Stars, is we are running out of ideas, so let's just mishmash everyone back together again. And I do not want that. Separation of my church and my state. So, indifferent.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, it would be good if there was like different flavors, different shows and stuff. But financially, I think it does make sense what they're trying to do if they do merge stuff together. Because what I see right now is like, so we have 2 more seasons of Raising Kanan, and I think the evolution of Raising Kanan is Power Origins, because Kanan's probably going to be in that too. But it is a Tommy and Ghost origin story. And then Force and Ghost ends, and then I think just if they want to keep a modern Power show going, I guess it makes sense to just fuse everyone together. And they still have some legacy characters they can use as well, like 2-Bit. What's her name? Blanca is still around. And yeah, well, I don't know what's going to happen with Tasha, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit. But yeah, they've got some legacy characters to work with and stuff. They got the Tate brothers, like Rashad Tate and his brother. So yeah, like
Kendrick Lamar, technically.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar, fresh off of Smoking Drake, why not bring him back? But yeah, like I think it makes sense to go in that direction of combining stuff. And no disrespect to Force and the team behind Force. Joseph Sikora is an amazing talent. He does great work with Tommy. But me personally, I feel like that show hasn't been as strong as it should be, given how good of a character Tommy is. So I think it makes sense to just fuse everything, like because I do want Tommy to be I want him to be around. I want to watch him, but like the show has to make sense. The show and the cast has to make sense for the character, and I think Tommy Egan is a character that needs great characters to bounce off of. And although there are some good characters in Force, I think he needs a stronger supporting cast around him. Like, I mean, they could keep Diamond. He's cool. I don't mind Diamond and Jannard. I think they're kind of like Jannard was great in the last season. So like, I don't know if they want to keep those guys, but I just feel like Tommy needs a better supporting cast if we're gonna, continue going on this journey with the character. So I think it makes sense to bring him back to the normal timeline. Like, and I don't know if they're gonna switch cities as well. Maybe that will make things cheaper because we know New York City is expensive, and 50's over here building studios, so they might actually change the shooting location and go to a new city. Who knows? Go ahead, Dana. Go ahead.
So sorry, but when you said they're building a new studio, he's building a new studio, and this is where it was like, oh no, this is gonna be bad. He in the conversation, so I'm not making things up there. In the conversation, he said he had meetings with Tyler Perry, not to bring him on, but to take advice. And one of the things that I do admire from Tyler Perry, one of the only things that I admire from Tyler Perry is when he built his studio, everything was in location in that place, which is a detriment, but whatever. Creativity. All right, so that in itself can save a lot of money in terms of production when everything is in studio. I just hope that they have a good production team in terms of that, because one of the things with Tyler Perry shows, they all look alike. You can see the Tyler Perry house and everything. So that is the only downside. But one of the things that it is Tyler Perry does know how to consolidate with that funds. And by building that studio, you fund a lot of different jobs. And then that way, you're able to bring on, unlike Tyler Perry, you're able to bring on more writers. Everything is right there, working in that location and on that stage and that set. So that is a plus look right there. That I do agree does sound like he is creating multiple franchises. So I will give him credit for that. Just make sure we have writers.
Oh yeah. Big props to 50 on all the moves he's making. Yeah, he literally put up a post earlier where I guess somebody posted a news article saying that he's trying to be the next Tyler Perry or something. And 50, in the caption, he was like, "No, I'm not trying to replace Tyler, but he gave me some good information and stuff." Like, so, he made it clear that they're friends and he's kind of, mentoring him and stuff. So yeah, shouts to 50. Good to see, black brothers doing big things and stuff, black people in general. So yeah. But speaking of, say that again. Oh yeah. Happy Juneteenth. Yeah. Happy Juneteenth. It is Juneteenth today. So happy Juneteenth to all my American people or the American family out there. But speaking of Tyler Perry, let's hear from the man who lives next to Tyler Perry, which is Richard Bailey Jr.
I don't live near. I don't think I live anywhere close to this guy, but yeah, shout outs to them. So here's the thing. I will give you both a lot of credit. You were very respectful with what you said about Force. I will be a little less respectful. The second season was great. That was a lot better than the first season, but the show overall has a ton of issues. All right. So when I saw the announcement, what I thought was very interesting about the announcement is that Tommy said this is his final season in Chicago, but Tommy's story will continue. So yes, to answer your question, Gary, yes, they are leaving Chicago. But what I'm saying is, since he made that announcement, and it's funny because the Deadline article said the show was canceled, but this is what Joseph Sikora was saying on his Instagram account. Well, here's what I have to say about it. I think because they have made the announcement the show is ending, there needs to be an explanation as to why Tommy is leaving Chicago. And what I think that means is that, well, obviously, we saw what happened at the end of Force last season, right? Jannard had that whole plan. Him and Shanti set up Tommy, whatever. So Jannard's probably going to get taken out next season, all right? Diamond and Tommy have their little conflict among each other. And I think that is what will force him out of Chicago. So Diamond will probably remain in Chicago, and that will be it for him in terms of being on any other future shows. Should they decide to, I don't know how they're going to explain that, but that's what my guess is. But to answer the question, yeah, I think they are going to reunite Tommy with other characters in the Force universe. I do think all the stuff that Michael Rady Jr. has said before about, yes, the show is coming to an end and my future is, I have other things I want to do. I do believe there are other things he's going to do, but I don't think his character is going to get killed off of Ghosts. That character may show up again in some capacity on another show. It may not be where he's on every episode. I have no idea. Or it could be. But I'm going to go to what Data said. I would love to see Power in Miami. And, obviously I laughed when you guys brought up Miami because the rumor I heard a long time ago is, hey, they're just going to have Ghost return and start anew in Miami. And I laugh at the thought of that because Ghost took all this time off, right? And then all of a sudden he going to come back. Oh, I got to get back in the game again. Let me go to Miami. I think that's kind of funny to me. But hey, listen, we'll see what happens. But obviously, I do think that this other Power show is going to be a multitude of characters that are already existing in the universe. I think what they are doing with Noma and Kane, they are trying to establish that as being, I guess, I do feel like, I don't think that Tariq is going to I don't think that Kane is going to get killed at the end of this season. Kane could be a character that is built up and becomes a adversary to whoever is on this other show with Noma, if she's still around. I also think that Don Carter is going to remain, and he is going to be, again, somebody who is going to be going after whoever is on both sides. He may go after Tariq or he may go after Kane. But I think we have to wait and see, obviously, what the end game is here. But what I would like to know is if whatever this other spinoff is that's going to happen, is it going to get announced at the end of Ghost or at the end of Force? That's what I want to know. Because obviously, I think Force, the final season is going to come on later this year. I'm guessing it's going to be in the fall, right? So I just want to know, are they going to announce this show at the end of Ghosts or at the end of Force? That's what I would like to know. And I just remembered, since they split this into two halves, the second half of this season of Ghosts, I think, will end sometime in October. So I don't know if Ghost is going to come back in November or if they're just going to wait till the start of next year. We need to get clarity on that. But I'm very curious to know what happens, and I'm also curious to know what everyone who's leaving comments thinks about this situation, because clearly some of these characters are going to return, but that's the question of how they're going to actually phrase the show. But it's definitely going to be a different location. No doubt about that whatsoever.
I just want to say back to our pilot being in air quotes because he's not a pilot, but pilot. I can actually see Backdoor Pilot with the origin one because that ties so directly with Raising Kanan.
Mm-hmm.
So that I can essentially see as that one, that random one episode where like it acts as the backdoor pilot to the next show. So
that's true.
And this is my problem. And this is why I don't know who to trust, and I don't know who's lying, and I don't know who's telling the truth, because I felt like they wrote themselves into a corner. When Tommy came back, and he said, "This is not my war. This is not my fight. Do you, bro? I'm out." That to me felt like I'm not coming back no more in terms of seeing you. So for them to even link up, unless it's Tariq that goes to find him, but what for what purpose? Because Tommy said no, he's not coming back. He made his peace with Tasha and Tariq. So for me, it just feels that there's no reason for there to be a Super Friends meetup. Because you just dedicated this whole scene where you tried to come back and kill everybody, and Tariq tried to kill you. You had this brouhaha conversation where we're like, I see you as a man. You always been a man. I don't understand why they would connect with each other unless this means like they genuinely did not know this was the finale. I don't know.
I agree. And let me make one final comment, and then we'll get back to the episode, because I know Gary probably got some questions he wants to ask. But let me just make one final comment here. And obviously, you already said, Dana, that Starz wants to keep Power And that's fine if they do, but this is what I will say. If Lionsgate and Starz decide to get rid of Power, I want them to send Power to Netflix, because Courtney Kemp, she has this massive deal at Netflix, and she's been writing on another show, but she hasn't released any other content on Netflix yet. So obviously, if you go to Netflix and you bring a show like Power to Netflix, they have a lot more money that they can offer anyone that wants to be on the show. So if for some reason Starz does not able to keep Power, hopefully that is the next option. You send that over to Netflix. They'll pay Starz a huge amount of money or whatever, and then we can just watch the show on Netflix. And then I think they will not have a problem offering more people opportunities to be on the show, because they actually can afford to have them on the show. That would be my suggestion. Go ahead, Dana.
Dude, I completely forgot about that. Everyone is licensing their shows to other networks is how they get money, because streaming services, even though technically Starz app and the thing is not the same thing, but it is a thing, in order for them to make money, we are seeing them license their shows to other networks. For example, why in the world is our Disney show is on Netflix, and except for Netflix, because Netflix is fine. But we're seeing different shows on different platforms, and we're like, but that's a Apple TV original. Why is it on Prime Video? That is what I think would be the best thing for them to do, is to start licensing these shows to a bigger audience. Because look at what with WWE. Yeah, they have a huge audience. Netflix is so global. It's like over 100, maybe 200 million at this point of subscribers. You get your eyes on that, then you're saying, if you want to catch recently what's going down right now with these characters, go to Starz. What you just said was brilliant, and now I'm just completely angry because you're just throwing money away. I am upset. Because you did really great with 7 million people, and I'm very happy for you. But 7 million is not the same as 168 eyeballs that have the ability to come and watch a show. So, yeah, and Gary's getting upset now, so I'm going to shut up.
No, I'm not upset. I was just gonna say, yeah, I completely agree with you. And like, there's a lot they could do with licensing to make extra money for the company. Like, because particularly over here, because the people who love Power in the UK, I feel your pain, because it is not easy to access these shows. Like, especially as the episode comes out over here. Because you guys in America, you could actually watch Starz. You got the app and everything. The Starz app isn't actually a thing in the UK. Like, you can obviously use a VPN and all that stuff, but like, it's not actually a thing over here. So like, the way people have to get it is they have to get it through Amazon, but they have to have both a Prime subscription and an MGM, I think it's called, subscription. So like, you need 2 subscriptions to be able to get access to these Power shows. Like, so there's a lot. If they do a licensing deal with Netflix, like, that would solve so many problems, because it would boost the numbers of Power. Because I know people who still haven't seen the spin-offs yet. They haven't seen Force. They haven't seen Ghost, like, because it's not accessible to them. So yeah, I think they need to consider making these licensing deals. And they have like so many different shows now in the universe that they can license off. If they wanted to, they could say, okay, Netflix, you have the license to play the original Power and the first couple seasons of Ghost and Force, but maybe the newer seasons stay with Starz exclusively or something. There's so many things they could do with that. So that is something they should think about, I think, because it's money on the table. But yeah, let's move on with the questions. There is a question from a commenter. I want to make sure we get to this question, before we end the show. I do have some more questions after, but so the question is left by the Bridge 258, and they asked the question: do you believe Tasha will be killed? So will Tariq's mother be killed in this season? Is basically the question. And I thought this was a great question to ask, especially after what happened in this episode, because if you notice, before Monet saw the video, Tariq was also sent the video by Pinky, right? And his reaction was like, "Did you send it to Monet already?" kind of thing. So Tariq now knows that because Monet is privy to the fact that it was Diana and stuff, you know, she like Monet is privy to new information, and this new revelation could lead to her digging further and finding out that his mother was the shooter. Maybe, if Monet is suspicious enough, she's going to do that digging and find out who really fired the shots. So he has to kind of, be a bit weary about what Monet's next move is going to be, and he might have to further protect his mother. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think that Tasha is going to end up being killed this season? And this time I'll go to you first, Richard. What do you think?
100% yes. Not just because of what you said, Gary, but I also say this because up until this point, Tariq has been very cold in calculating this entire season. He's doing everything because he wants to protect his family and reunite with his family, but he also wants payback. At some point, the character has to take some losses this season. You can't just have him in every single episode. He outsmarts everybody and then that's it. So I kind of feel like because he wants to reunite with his family and because he told Tasha in the previous episode, I do not come back to New York. I need you to stay where you're at. Just stay off the grid. I kind of feel like that is a spoiler, so to speak, that she could potentially come back and get killed. Now, the question is, if that happens, right? If she does come back, do we trust that Monet is going to come after her? As Dana already said, Mary J. Blige, a great artist, but a horrible actress. Is she going to scream? Scream is screaming going to be how she takes out? I don't know. I just don't know. Well, okay, I'll take it back. We'll just say she needs a little bit of work on emoting, as Dana said. But let me just say this. I think, yes, Tasha is on the chopping block. Because, again, like you said, Tariq has been steps ahead of everybody. But now in this situation, like you said, Gary, he asked, did Pinky already send this information to Monet? She did. So Monet will probably obviously do some digging to find out who all was involved. I do believe we are going to get a scene in the next episode because there was a scene in the trailer where Drew met up with Monet at the bar. And obviously you saw Drew walking away. That tells you that conversation did not end well. So I'm just telling you right now, that scene is probably going to happen before the inevitable showdown between brother and brother. And by the way, this is the last comment that I will make. Episode 5, I believe, is titled Ego Death. That is the episode I'm going to predict when we get that showdown between Kane and Drew. And that may be where Drew gets killed. That's the mid-season finale. Something's going to definitely happen in that episode, but because they're taking a break after that. But that's what my guess is. But I want to hear what you and Dana have to say about this.
Oh, really? That's the name? Okay. Yeah, maybe you're right. I guess that's the episode. Then. But yeah, Dana, what do you think about the whole Tasha thing? Like, is she gonna get killed?
I say this with much love and respect. I feel that she's a tether, and I feel that Tariq can never truly be free if his mother is alive. And I know she's wonderful, and now she's actually a terrible parent, by the way. But in her mind, she thinks she's wonderful, which is the same as Monet. Oh, thoughts in my brain. Tasha and Monet have more in common than they have not in common. If you really look at it, she was the one who pushed Ghost into. Remember, he was trying to quit since day one. He was like, "I'm done," and now you got to stay in. And she, the whole babysitting side job thing, and the whole everything. She is truly the tether. So I think that in order for him, Tariq, to be free mentally, physically, emotionally from this life, yes, he may still be broke, But I do feel that somewhere deep in his spirit, everything that he has done has been for his mother. If she is to die, then he can finally live for himself. So I want her to die. I sounded terrible. But I think the best thing for that to happen is for her to no longer be in the picture. And you can't even say, oh, now she's living in Montana. Because if you see her, even if she's living her happy little life in Montana, we see her now, what is she, Stacy or Becky or whatever she is now, and working for that Piggly Wiggly shop with the guy who was trying to assault her every 5 seconds. He's still constantly thinking about her. Everything that he does is constantly to get back to her and to reunite the family. I think it would be best if she is to go, and the only way for her to go is to die. So therefore, I'm not doing this for you, Mom. She did. You're doing it for a ghost. I just goes to me. Okay, but anyway, point is, I think it's best that she is gone. She is dead, and in that way, you focus on the sister and you focus on grandma, because grandma's like half dead anyway. Isn't she like an alcoholic, and she's probably doing AA or AAA or whatever A is? So, like, come on, Yaz, whatever that child, Yaz needs a parental figure. I think that he will be able to step up whatever the money that he is going to accumulate with this season and completely break himself free. Therefore, we have Braden Hunter Biden able to do his own little crazy stuff, right? And we have Tommy, he's able to do his little stuff, and they can say hi to each other. But that cures the fact that they've written themselves in the corner for Tommy to come back for Tariq. No, everybody's free, living their best lives. And in that way, Michael Rainey Jr., the person, if he decides to continue more with acting, I don't know, ends up opening a drama acting school and enrolls Mary J. Blige in it, he's able to do that. So it all works out for at the end. So that's the answer to my question, which I forgot the question anyway.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I do think it does make sense as well to kill off Tasha, because, like, yeah, it will kind of like give Tariq a reason to expand on his character. Like, it will give him, more motivation as a character. Depending on when it happens, like if it happens episode 5 or something, I don't know. Or they might leave that for the second half, but we'll be able to see him go on like a revenge mission potentially, because it does seem like his goal of the season is to kind of like take out Noma and Kane and Drew and all everybody on that side. Basically, like, he wants them gone, and this would give him more motivation. But then what comes after that, after the whole revenge thing, is he now has to kind of be more responsible for his sister, Yaz. And because we know, the grandma, she isn't very reliable, because remember, she almost burnt the whole house down or something. Or no, that was Yaz, sorry. And she, like, the grandma was drinking or something, So so yeah, like, she's not reliable, so it's gonna fall on Tariq to look after, Yaz, and that might actually be motivation for him to get out of the game and maybe go legit, like, because he wants to protect her or something. Go ahead, Rich.
And don't forget, Gary, he also has to take care of Tariq Jr. So yes, he got his hands full after this season.
Oh yeah, he's gonna have some mouths to feed after this. So. But yeah, good question. So thank you to the Bridge 258. Go ahead, Dana. You got something more?
And I just want to say, it goes back to his initial plan. Remember when he was, before, I think it was like season 1 or 2, where he was like, I'm getting the apartment and I'm having it all look, everything's going to look nice and presentable. And I'm going to go to this court, hearing in order to get custody of my sister, and everything was going to be great and wonderful. It goes back. So it's a full circle moment. So it's not like, oh, everything's out of the blue. It's literally everything that he wanted coming to fruition. Just kill out everybody, kill Tasha, let her die, I don't know. And there you go. Happy life.
One final comment to make, and then Gary, you could go to the next question. If Tasha does get killed, I need to see a scene of the return of Ghost saying, look what you've done. Look what you did this, Tariq. You did this. That'll be brilliant.
No, what would be brilliant? Remember how much he hates Tasha. So it's like, oh, I'm stuck with you, and they're in the afterlife together. Remember when he boxed him in the face? Look at you and your stupid decisions. Now you do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would love a cameo of Ghost, like just being like, having a gotcha moment, basically. Like, I told you, Tariq. Like kind of like that letter he got in the jail, like, but in person, like have Omari do it in person, like that would be amazing. But yeah, great question. So yeah, next question I have is so we saw Kane's reaction to the video. He was very upset. He doesn't like being lied to, and he already suspected that something wasn't right with this situation. And we saw that he ran out with his gun, chasing Drew and Diana like he was going to shoot, but then he ended up not shooting. And of course, it's not an easy thing to kill someone you love. If you watch The Godfather 2, you could see that it hurt Michael Corleone to have to to have to kill his brother. Like he didn't want to do that, but it was something he had to do. So the question I want to ask you to is, does Kane really have it in him to kill his family? Is he going to be able to go through with this in the end? So that is the question I have. And Dana, you can go first.
I just wrote down as you brought that up. Was it all for show? That's what I truly wonder. Him going out of the house, running and catching, running after them, but not shooting. I wonder if it was all an act. So I'm starting to think that it could be an act because he has some situations with Monet too. Maybe he's starting to put two and two together, and in terms of kind of understanding his mother, and maybe he has grievances as well. Granted, he doesn't know the full extent of how they tried to kill their mother, but who is to say that with Monet finally accepting him under the wing, again, I don't know who's playing whom, that he, not to say he's okay with his mother dying, but he's kind of okay with what happened because she didn't die, essentially. And in order for him to, he wants to fully escape and go with Monet. So that is one of the biggest things that I wonder. And again, I forgot what the original question was, but that's my take on things.
Yeah, sorry, I missed some of what you said because I had to step away. But the question was like, does Kane have it in him to actually kill his family? Drew or Diana?
No. So. Well, see, I know he really hates Tariq, so that would be an easy one. But in terms of family, I don't see. The writer part of me would say yes, because that creates more of a dynamic, and we've seen that Drew and Kane, in a way, you could argue have been. I don't want to say they've been pitted against each other, but they view each other as competition. Even when Drew really didn't want anything to do with the family and want to run off with his boyfriend and I don't know, be on ESPN, they really did still seem to be in competition with each other. But in terms of like wanting to have each other killed, I don't know because again, they're family. So that's just more of the harder question for me. And it's easy to say, yeah, because, Kane is hot-headed and Drew was running around looking a hot mess during that entire, first episode that we saw with him getting hit by the car and everything else, and they were both met on a mission. But I don't know when it comes to killing each other. I think they would be fine with being leaders, but separately. What if Drew was to stay with Monet and then Kane was to go off with Noma, and they're both number ones, but just with their own groups. That might work out better, but if you really notice, nobody wants to be around Monet. Everyone's trying to be up under Noma. Ooh, I don't think they're gonna kill each other. I know we want that brother versus brother, but what if I believe that it might be all just one big game to get rid of Noma. So they're playing this competitive mode, I think. I really don't know. I'm stumped.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it is a game to the top at this point. Like, I think Kane's ulterior motive is to replace Noma. Like, I think he wants the top spot. With regards to him being able to kill a family member, I don't know if he has it in him. But I do see either Drew or Diana dying. Now it's a question of who pulls the trigger. Will it be Kane or will it be Monet? Yeah, I don't know. Let me hear what you think, Rich. Do you think Kane has it in him to kill a family member? We know Monet does already,
Oh, absolutely. Lorenzo had it coming, right? That's what everybody said. He had it coming. All right. If there's one thing we know about the Power universe is that family will turn on family anytime that there is a position of power to go after. So Drew is a very hard-headed character. He has been it's been very entertaining watch him just lose his mind the first 3 episodes of this season. So I kind of feel like Kane is going to kill him. And it's going to be a situation where obviously he could be hesitant of doing so. But because even if Kane had a plan, his whole master plan was to eventually take out Noma. I kind of feel like Drew is very hard-headed and he is very impatient because he wants a position of power. This is somebody whereas if he even approached his brother Drew and said what his plan was, Drew would tell Noma the plan so that they can take out Kane. So I kind of feel like Drew has to get taken out. And I kind of feel like Kane is going to have to take him out. And even though there will be some hesitancy of him doing so, they have built this up from the very beginning, where it's this whole brother versus brother, who is fit to be a leader over the other and in charge. That is going to happen. Even though we don't want to see that happen, I think it's going to happen because we saw how unhinged Drew is and how he has been. Whereas he was the one that wanted to take out Monet before she found out about all this stuff, and now it's too late. So I kind of feel like, yes, Kane is going to have to take out Drew. Diana, he's not going to take out Diana because Diana's probably going to tell him that she's pregnant as well. And as you both said previously, when we found out that Diana was pregnant in the last episode, the first thing Dana said, that will save her from getting taken out by Monet. So I kind of feel like that rule still applies here. So I don't expect a Kane to take her out. But here's the interesting thing about Monet's situation. She is obviously in a very, very bad space now because now Drew and Diana try to take you out. And while you think that you can rely on Kane, Kane obviously is trying to really take advantage of Noma and take over her operation. So he doesn't have time to worry about Monet and how she feels and all this other stuff. He is trying to get his. So she is really alone in this entire situation. Obviously, we're going to see her have a couple of conversations with all of her kids in the remaining episodes. But I kind of feel like this character is on her own. She wanted to get back into the game. And then Kane says no because Noma is in control. And I also feel like, let's say that Kane is successful in taking out Noma. Do you honestly feel like he will bring Monet back into the fold if he thinks that Monet is going to try to take over him? I don't think so. So I want to see which path they're going to go with this stuff. It's very intriguing, obviously. But to answer your question, Gary, I do think if Kane had to take out Drew, he will. I don't think he's going to kill Diana. And as for Monet, I don't think he's going to take out Monet, but somebody else may take out Monet before that ever happens. We have to wait and see.
I think I know who's going to take out Monet. I strongly feel like I know who's going to take out Monet.
Uh-oh, who's that?
Who's the character that they introduced?
Janet? Well, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Janet's supposed to go home. I guess she ain't going home now after what happened at the dinner table.
Here's what I wonder though. It makes no sense to me of bringing in a character that's related to the family and then she just up and leaves. At least I just don't think, oh, we're gonna just, we owe Golden Brooks this favor, so she's gonna be, I don't know, 4 episodes in the show and that's it. Golden knew everything that she's done, and she doesn't agree with that lifestyle. Then you have the situationship now, even though she is not Zeke's, she wasn't the one who took care of Zeke, from my understanding. She wasn't that sister. I strongly believe that she could view her sister as being a poison to those kids. And in a way, in order to save those kids, I have to get her away from you guys. Because the only thing why I would say that is because I don't understand her purpose being there. Aside from she's the nurse and we can do rehab, but rehab was all of, that's it. That's rehab, and here's some pillows, and put your feet up, and that's it. And here's the coat that I saw you admire. That to me is wasted paper. That's wasted space and is wasted storyline. And it does nothing to move the story forward. Because Monet could have that in her own house. I'm doing physical therapy in my own house, because that's what they do. When you do physical therapy, they send you home, here's a sheet of exercises that you can do, and you do it on yourself. And the kid's already fussing and fighting, making sure that she's okay and has the pillows when she's not trying to kill her every 5 seconds. So to me, it would have been completely purposeless to have Golden Brooks there. Why is she there? She could be the one who's like, I know everything of what's going on. She's creeping in the corners. Yeah, can you leave us for a second? Maybe she's at the stairwell taking notes. Who knows? But to me, it just seems like there was no purpose of having her. But again, we've seen characters where there was no purpose of them being there. For example, we saw BMF and Monique's character. That led to nothing really. It was like, oh, here's a story about AIDS in the 80s. Okay, and? So I don't know, but I strongly, maybe it's just a me thing, would kind of want her to serve a higher purpose. Because she's the only one who knows Monet from the very beginning. And why are we having all these flashbacks of Monet? I think that it's more than just to tell us, hey, this is how the kids were and how they were introduced to this lifestyle. Because it's great while you're showing us and you're not telling us, but what is it leading to? Is this more of a reflective time? Because you not only have the reflective period that we're going through, Monet herself is constantly being told, we're going to push you out now. This is not for you now. You have to go away now. We don't need you now. So I just don't understand what that purpose is. You're giving me flashbacks. You're bringing in a family member that knows you. And then you're telling us in the present, you're not needed. What purpose does she serve? None. And so I'm okay with Janet being the sleeper cell. Richard?
I think you hit it on the head 100%, because the thing about it is this, and we spoke about this, that Janet could be the one that was taking care of Zeke. They didn't really get into that. Obviously, they haven't addressed that yet for a reason. And I'm pretty sure what we do know is that Monet did apologize to Janet the very first, the previous episode about what happened. But obviously, Janet's state of mind, she sits back and she observes what Monet has done in her life. Made it a very big deal that Monet gave her that jacket in this episode. And she's basically always been there. She's been like a voice of reason. Monet came to her to talk to her about, do you really think I do a bad job with my kids? So on and so forth. So it would be an excellent decision if they did decide that she does take her out as a revenge because she hasn't gotten over the fact that she played a role in Zeke getting killed. We need to see the flashback of Zeke because we haven't seen that yet. Zeke as a kid, because recall in this episode, Monet said, oh yeah, they took Zeke away from me. They took my baby away from me, right? And I thought that they said previously Janet was taking care of Zeke growing up. So that would be awesome. Fantastic if she does end up taking her out. She has access to the medication that Monet is not supposed to be taking too much of. It makes perfect sense. So hopefully, I hope they do go to what you said. They do go in that direction because it makes sense. It would give the character a lot more to do, and she could be the one that gets revenge, and it'll come out of nowhere as a silent thing because of all the stuff that's happening around Monet. She is distracted on what's happening with her kids, and then she doesn't really she just completely forgets how bad she's actually hurt her sister or cousin or whatever. I think that'll be interesting.
They did too much foreshadowing with the pills and Drew in the back. I'm gonna kill this bitch, grinding up the pills. That's not his murder to have. I don't think that that's his murder. That could be Janet's murder. She's a nurse. She knows how to combine certain things. Dude was like pouring in the whole bottle, the whole tablet in there. She knows how to administer certain stuff. So, she's the nurse. We don't know that, but I think that has to be the only reason why. And it's too much with the thing with Drew, the pills, her passing out with the Oxycontin, her ruining that whole thing with the Russians. So that Effie now has to step in and stand up for that. There's too many things. Well, look, she can pass out here, and we know how to grind it there, and she's the nurse there. It's Janet.
Yeah, I love all of these theories. Now that you've laid it out, I do think that that's probably what's going to happen because there has to be a reason why she was specifically asking Janet for the pain medication, and then we saw Drew playing with it later and stuff. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and there has to be a reason for the flashbacks too. And I think maybe there's another twist there. Reason. Yeah. So
the drugs for some people. Those pills cause hallucinations. For some people, the side effects may vary. They can cause hallucinations. So we see it as a flashback, and this is really what happens when she's in that state. She's going back in her mind and replaying things, which also adds into you have to retire. We don't need you anymore. She feels completely useless. So that also is another explanation. Oh, officer, I don't know. She was acting all weird. She kept passing out. She's having these flashbacks and she's talking to us about the past. Who's to say they could administer it in a certain way where she committed suicide? She unalived herself. She's passing out everywhere. And we all know that drug is highly addictive. And we know all of the overdoses that happens. There's so many laws that they're enacting because, look at this addiction, this pill addiction that's coming around. So there you go. She doesn't even have to be like, oh, boom, bang, 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 we shot her. No, it's pills. We introduced, they didn't even have to say, oh, Monet, you're on Oxy. They didn't have to say that at all. But they put that in there. There you go.
Yeah, no, that's great points. That's good points. Yeah. See, yeah, you two are writing the show now, basically, like, because I can completely see all of this, what you're saying. And yeah, I want to go back to what Richard was saying as well. Yeah, now the way you laid it out, yeah, I could definitely see Kane killing Drew. So I do think that that's probably what's going to happen. And then Diana, she's either going to be spared or maybe Monet ends up killing Diana. And, that could be something that leads to Janet doing what she does. So, yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, just one last question before we end.
One quick thing, because it's a visual that you had in my head. Remember how we talked about Zeke? So this is how Zeke comes into play with this whole situation. Diana and Monet have that showdown. Everybody guns, right? And then, Janet comes in, I'm not going to let you take another one of my babies. And because they know that Diana is now pregnant. That's how she takes it out. If we're going to do the pow situation instead of the drug situation. Boom.
Yeah.
And one last point to make to jump on what Dana said. I'm pretty sure that it's not out of the realm of possibility that Diana is going to tell Janet that she's pregnant because Janet is a nurse, right? So that lines up perfectly, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Good points. Good points. Yeah, I think you guys have unraveled something that we weren't even thinking about before. So these are great predictions. So yeah, like final question, because there was that conversation between Tariq and Davis McLean in the car, and you know, uh, they were obviously scheming, and this is what led to Davis McLean going to Noma and offering his services and stuff. But while they were having that conversation, um, Davis brought up Carter, and he was basically saying like, this guy's serious, like he's not going to stop, and you need to keep an eye on this guy. And Tariq kind of brushed it aside a little bit, like, yeah, he's dangerous, but whatever. Like, what about these drugs? So he kind of like brushed it off a little bit. But I want to ask you guys: should Tariq be more worried about Carter, or do you think there could already be something in play? Like, does he already have a plan of how to deal with Carter? And there's a big clue in this episode of what that could be. So, um, you want me to say it?
Well, hold on. Before I want to hear what that clue is, but let me just answer this question first, because I do want to hear what the clue is, and I'll answer it. Dana give her answer, then we'll hear your clue. I think that the fact that they brought back Camille, which is Tate's brother, right?
There you go.
That right there lets you know Tariq doesn't know this guy is involved in working with Carter now. And that right there, I think, is a very important detail, because it still feels to me like, while Tate and Tariq, they agreed to do business together, if paths cross, I kind of feel like Tate and Tariq will go after Tate and vice versa. So if something happens to Camille, as in the midst of this thing between Carter and Tariq, then all of a sudden, because Tariq knows that Tate knows way too much information about him. That's why I was surprised how Tariq did not try to, because and this is one thing that I do want to mention this, because we didn't mention this. You have to tie up loose ends with all of this stuff. One thing we didn't mention, Obi's brother, right? He saw Drew because Drew stopped by the house, and that was the last person to say, yeah, I'm going to go to work with your brother. He stayed over. I'm just going to go and work with him. So when obviously, when it was revealed eventually that Obi did die and he finds out, he knows he's seen Drew. I mean, that's a loose end. I'm surprised they didn't go back and take out the brother, or even have a scene of Drew taking out the brother, because now he knows he can ID Drew as the last person that he spoke to that had communication with his brother. That is a loose end you must tie up. But to go back to what I was saying, yes, I think that Camille, because he is involved in this situation, this will complicate things further for Tariq. And I want to see which path they go down, because I was expecting Tariq to eventually, you need to deal with Tate, because Tate knows too much information. Anytime they needed each other to do illegal activity, they did it. And obviously, yes, Tariq knows stuff about Tate as well, but I kind of feel like now Tate is in a position of power. We need to see if he gets his spinoff or whatever. This guy is still dangerous because he knows too much. So I would like to see how they're going to deal with that situation. I think that Camille being a part of this final season is the answer to that question. But we need to see how they do it, how they execute on it. But we'll see.
Yeah, it could be it could go either way, like, because Tariq could make, like, I think both Tate and Tariq are dangerous to each other because they know each other too well. They've got dirt on each other, basically. Like, so, Tariq could use this Tate situation and Camille being in the task force or working with the task force. He could somehow manipulate something to use that in his favor, or it could work against him. So it's either or, I think, depending how they choose to play it. But Dana, what do you think? So the question was, do you think Tariq should be more worried about Carter, and also does he already have a plan of how to deal with Carter? So what do you think?
All right, so here's my situation. There's a couple of things. Maybe the reason why we never got our power influence show is because they're planning on killing whatchamafface Tate. He knows too much. And what happens when you know too much? You tend to not live too long. Um, he and I feel that he could be a much bigger problem. And remember, he's been kind of missing a majority of time from this entire, even though we're on only third episode, he's been missing. And I don't trust people who know too much who are also missing. And from going back on, I believe, was it the original book? Was it the original this show where we got a whole like episode or two with the two brothers, the Tates, together? I believe it was in Power Ghost. From my understanding, they don't like each other, but they still respect each other. And I have a more harder time with knowing whether or not he'll turn his own brother in. He may be able to be the one who warns him. And this is kind of what goes back with the question of will Drew or Kane end up killing each other? I don't know. They don't have that fierce competition as the other two does. So I don't see, for example, I don't see them turning on each other like that. He could actually be the one that's the one that could help Tariq in a way. Because forget Tariq and what he's doing. I don't know whether or not he wants to make sure that his brother goes away to jail for a long time. Yeah, maybe like, oh, I want to punish you and I can't stand you. But to see him locked away for years and years, all these embezzlement schemes and every other scheme, because if they're coming for him, it's not going to be just this one little thing about some green cards. No one really cares about green cards. You know, it's much larger than that. And Tate has done the dirt since the original Power series. So I strongly believe that that is what's going to happen. That there are going, he may end up being the one that's working both sides. I believe that he may be working with Carter and feeding him whatever information that he thinks that he knows is best. But meanwhile, he's actually the one who's helping Lorenz Tate. And because that Tate is so close to Michael, I'm forgetting his character's name. They're so close to Tariq that he'll have to end up helping him too. Because if he goes down, I feel like if anybody, as either Tariq or Tate goes down, they all go down. They're too tied within each other. So that is to answer your one question is no, I don't see one bringing down the other one. The second question that you asked is something that I kind of forgot again. But I had the thought and then I just kind of lost the thought of what.
Should Tariq be worried about Carter, basically?
Oh, right. So should Tariq be worried about Carter? This is when I think it was really important that they brought in the fact that, oh, you remind me of Ghost. He thinks like Ghost. He's very analytical in that. And I feel that while he's not showing everything, he is worried about Carter. But if that was the case, then he wouldn't keep having those conversations with Davis about, who is this guy? Should I be worried about this guy? What's going on? And he said very clearly, yeah, you should kind of be worried about him. This is not your average little cop that you've been dealing with since the original Ghost. This is someone who's a man on the mission, and, he's part of the task force. He brings down people. We've seen him do that whole weird, telenovela situation with Obi. So I think that he is someone that he is worried about. And I am starting to wonder, this is how we go back to the original Power series in terms of bringing back old people. What the dude, Steinstein, I forgot his name, but he was white. He's played by Victor Garber. He was one of the lawyer people, I think, that was part of the original series. So this is when they can bring him back because he needs help. And I think that they did a really interesting part with this season, and this episode in particular was they kept saying, "Oh, you're Ghost Kid. We're only doing this because you're a Ghost Kid." So I think he's going to have to start using his father's name in order to get the help that he needs. And I think this is where we're going to start seeing all of Ghost's little helpers from the original show come and help him out. And so I won't be surprised if that ends up being the case. And I would prefer that way more than Uncle Tommy. To me, it just makes more sense because, Carter is not... The thing is, I think that it would be way too easy to just, I'm going to go and ambush Carter and kill him. I think that you have to just be able to outthink him. And the weird thing about Carter was, even though they told him, we don't have any evidence, we can't do this with the case. he is someone who is so gun ho about it that they're gonna have to probably maybe flip it in a way where he ends up being imprisoned. I don't know how that's gonna work, but if you start planting evidence and you're getting, ghost old people back who remember he said David said it, he has made many connections. Remember the clientele that he has, and he stated that he has many connections with those clientele. So maybe it's something involving that. But I do think that he is thinking about Carter. He is seeing just how crazy that he is. That whole interrogation scene that we've seen. Then the fact that Obi dying, I think, is going to embolden Carter even more because he just spoke to him. Remember, he had him interrogated, which is why I can't stand. See, this is another thing. You're doing stupid things with that Obi character. What he kept saying, you're not under arrest. You can leave, but he just stayed there. And then he made the phone call, which just made it so obvious with everything. And that just really frustrated me because it's just like, how dumb are you? Just go, leave. And he's telling you can leave. And then he tried that weird little thing with the file, and he's like, I do not know any Tariq. He should have just left. But the thing was now, Carter saying, oh, I just spoke to Obi literally hours ago, and then now he's murdered. When they eventually do uncover the body, which I do believe they're going to do, that's not a murder that I don't think is going to be swept under the rug. And then that's going to, jeopardize the green card situation. And this is what I think. They left the brother alive, stupidly. He's going to probably talk to Detective Carter in terms of what's really going on with the green cards. Because his brother's dead now. You have the police, maybe intimidated by that. And then you also had what people are not mentioning is he mentioned the green cards to Drew. Drew was like, huh? And then he realized what he did was like, so the green card information is getting out. And I think Drew is actually going to be the one who's going to put two and two together to figure out that Tariq has a direct connection with who shot Monet. He might like it and be like, hey, thank you for doing that. I wish you didn't miss. High five. But at the same time, he's going to know information about the green cards. And he can use that information to get the one-up hand, whatever you want to call it, the one-upmanship thing in terms of, oh, here's the information about green cards, Noma. He's working directly with Tariq, Noma. You should watch your back, Noma. Because Kane doesn't know that. So look, let me be your number one, Noma. So, yay. All the way muted. You're muted. Muted.
Oh, sorry. bloopers. Yeah, okay. Great thoughts. I definitely think the green card is going to end up being a big thing. And here's what I think. Like, I think Detective Carter, because he's such a strong character. Like, I think he's gonna actually end up like pinning something on Tariq. Like, I think he is actually gonna go all the way and actually have a reason to bust Tariq. But here's what I think is going to happen. Like, I think he's going to get to the point where he has all of this evidence, like, the green cards and, Tariq being connected to Noma and just the Tahadas and all that stuff. Like, I think he's going to have all the evidence to, to bust Tariq and everything. And Tariq is going to have to negotiate his way out of it. And I think what might happen is, what do we know about Carr so far? We know that his wife was murdered. So I feel like maybe Tariq finds out who actually did it, like who the shooters were. Maybe he solves that murder, like he finds out through the streets what really happened. And the moment Carter's about to bust him, Tariq is like, look, do you want this information about what really happened to your wife? Because I could tell you who really did it, who's responsible. All you have to do is, let me go. Basically, like there could be a situation like that, maybe. So
Didn't they they reveal who it was or not? Because we know that she
They
died
haven't.
in front of the ER.
Yeah,
They
And
David
he was
haven't.
trying
said
to kill the
they,
guy on the gurney. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's all we know basically. Like David said, she got killed in the ER on the gurney, and all that stuff.
There's going to be more. I think there's going to be more revealed to that. Before that's an excellent idea, Gary. Because Gary, because then Tariq can use that leverage to his benefit. There's going to be more information revealed. We'll go ahead, Dana.
Carter just seems to me like a man who's always on a mission and he's like, okay, cool, thanks, I'll get to that. You can give me the information, but I'm still locking you up anyway. Because look, I'm solving even more crime. I'm getting you off all on the streets. So what do I look like? Yeah, you solved my wife's murder, but meanwhile you're murdering other people as well. So that's going to be the issue.
I agree, and I will also add that they also still need to describe Carter's connection with Monet, because we all saw the footage of those two characters hanging out when they were shooting the show. So obviously, I want to know what is the nature of that particular interaction. Is he going to try to use her to get information on Tariq? They have to, at some point, he has to approach her, I would assume, the way he's approaching everybody else.
Here's the thing. They both, if they see him finding out about Tariq, that is their both common denominator is Tariq. So, I'm working on a case where I think you may also know Tariq, and then you got shot, but you don't know who shot you. So that's how I think that ends up getting in. Because he just ends up talking to everybody. He'll just show up randomly in your house, and you turn on the lights and don't know. I've been waiting for you all day. All dramatical as he can be. That's the only thing I have to say about that. I just think that that's going to end up being the connection. And who's to say here's a situationship? It may end up being they don't know about Tasha being the actual shooter. What if Tariq is the one that takes the fall? So there you go there.
Yeah, I do think if it came to that, like if they were about to find out that it was Tasha, I do think Tariq would step in and be like, no, it was me, to protect her. But I think maybe what that scene of Carter and Monet could be about is maybe this is how she chases up the lead of the fact that it was Tasha, because he obviously knows information about her because he's the one that told Tariq that her witness protection is running out. So like, maybe he'll be able to, do some more digging and see, okay, like on this date, she was in New York, she wasn't in witness protection. She was in New York at this time or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how exactly they're going to do it, how she finds out it was Tasha, but yeah, I think that could be maybe her trying to chase leads or something. I don't know. But I am curious what that interaction is going to be like between Monet and Carl. It has to mean something.
We all know that he can easily end up being dirty cop in terms of not doing everything by the book. So that could be his undoing. So one of two things. That could be his undoing because he didn't do everything by the books and therefore it's not admissible in court. He takes things into his own hand. And that's how he ends up being, I'm going to be the vigilante and, take his everything into his own hands. So he really doesn't care about getting that conviction. Maybe he's the one who I don't freaking know. But everything that he's doing, and they even said it, that you're going too much. You're doing too much, and it's going to end up hurting the case. Because you keep it Obi, even though you're telling him he can stay, you can say, oh, you intimidated him to stay. And he said you can go. But I just don't understand Obi's actions. I feel like it has to add up to something that's much bigger, that maybe internally Carter is taken down. Because none of this makes any sense in terms of him being so gun-ho. Unless, like I originally thought that Ghost was somehow involved with the wife murder. But they gave no indication of that at all. So that is just my issue. Well, why are you going so crazy about this? I'm confused.
Yeah, I guess we got to see what happens, but it's that time now where we go to our final thoughts. So yeah, if you guys have any other final points you wanted to get in before we end the show, quickly, what did I have? Oh yeah, so there was the scene where no I think it was when Effie came to tell Noma about the drugs, the other drugs that are on campus and stuff, and Noma's daughter Anya came in. So they do things like this for a reason, and both Kane and Effie were there. So I think maybe Effie does start working with Tariq again, and maybe she organizes something to where they do take Anya, and then Kane has to be the one to kind of like get her back or something, or it could be, or Kane could be in on it, or it could be he could reach the point where he's like, I want to take over, I'm ready to take over, and maybe he is the one who's in on it. But I think that's setting up something.
So in other words, you're saying they go with the original plan was to take Noma's daughter. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, well, that's how she's gonna get her payback on Kane. Messing around with Noma, even though he's doing this to try to gain power. That's a very interesting tactic.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Rich, because that was the original plan that Tariq cooked up with Effie.
Yep.
So if they do start working together again, she could be like, look, I can get you Noma's daughter. Like we could go with the plan that we had before, so but yeah, that happened for a reason, the daughter coming in at that moment. So I think that's setting up something. But yeah, that's my final thing. Dana, did you have anything?
They think Dana's still thinking about this one.
No, I forgot that Anya existed. So I was like, oh yeah, there's a daughter. There has to be a reason for her existence because they brought her in. She's very annoying. She seems to be like a child version of Tariq at this moment. I feel that in some way someone has to use her. I just don't know whether or not it's going to be Kane or Tariq. And that's where I'm kind of confused about. And even if you kill Anya, not kill, but kidnap her, what is now your demands? I mean, the whole point was they wanted to kidnap her in order to get out of the game, right? I don't know if that works anymore. Unless Kane is the one who is, and this is what I say, I feel like somebody's playing each other. Kane is doing this in order to be the one who gets close to Anya, in order to, I don't know, kidnap her or do some kind of harm to her in order to get away from Monet. But that doesn't make any sense because Kane seems to really just I just took myself out of it. Kane, I think, wants to replace Noma. And in some way, they're going to end up using this child as something. And that's what I think that is going to be, for him to be replaced. Now, Tariq wanted to kidnap her in order to get out. But Kane, I think, is to replace and to stay further in. I just, at this moment, don't know how they're going to execute either one because they did not make Anya a kind of character that I even care about yet. Again, I feel this is what I don't like. I feel that Noma's just been weak this whole season, even before Anya was introduced.
I agree.
So it's so hard for me to just care at this moment. And it's not even like she's showing vulnerability. She just really just hasn't been there to see much of vulnerability. Aside from yelling and screaming, and yes, she's not getting her way and things are not going according to plan. But she's been so off screen that I just genuinely don't care about her. And her power has been so diminished. Yes, Richard.
So let me make this comment. This has been a very entertaining, fun podcast, but because you brought up Noma again, I got to get a little bit messy here. And I just want to say this. I don't want this to happen, obviously. I really hope that they do not put Noma in some type of love triangle with Davis and Kane, because the way Davis was approaching Mona at the end of the episode, like getting all up and close, I was like, oh, please don't do this, because we already saw Davis 2 episodes. That's why I say I don't hope they're not going to do that, because I thought about that when I was like, okay, come on now, relax, don't go down that path.
Why not? Kane has been like Kane. Davis has been the hoe this entire season. Let him hoe out. The man's stressed. His brother's
Going for his
dead.
whole face.
What's in your whole face? Do you, boo? Just don't catch anything. What do you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. But I do want to see how that all turns out with Davis as well, like, because clearly it's implied that Tariq told him to bring those documents to Noma and offer his help. So I want to see how that plays out too. But yeah, did you have any other final thoughts, Dana, or was that it? Or we could go to Rich first while you get ready.
I believe that was kind of it. I found it's really interesting if you look at Davis. Davis is tied to Tariq, obviously, but now it's also money reasons, because remember, he wants the 20% of the cut. Everyone's just kind of desperate for money. It's his issue. So I think maybe Davis, you put 2 people together, that's they end up keeping each other alive. So I think they might make it out and be perfectly fine. Another thing I just wanted to just mention was, I really do hope that Effie is able to make it out and get kind of her happy ending. We kind of forgot about the Russians. So I don't know if she's just a liaison and they just didn't need her at this moment because they have the guns. But we also have some Russians in Monet's pocket. Not Monet, Noah's pocket at the moment. So, in terms of if there's ever going to be a war that breaks out, they have that going for them. So, yeah. Oh, and also really quickly, shout out to Dougie Fresh, because he was the one who's like, I guess, the ref in the Fight Club when he raised his hand. That was Dougie Fresh, and he looks very good. So, shout out to him.
Oh yeah, I knew that was someone, but I couldn't think who. I couldn't think who it was. But yeah, that's good. Dougie Fresh. Shouts to him. But Richard, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I enjoyed this episode. Always a very fun and entertaining discussion with you both. And shout outs to Braden. I can't wait to see them have this character go completely off the deep end. Because the one thing that Dana and I have said when we did that trailer breakdown and they had the description of Braden's character, yes, he's going to have a reckless lifestyle. So probably drugs and fighting people for money. I think that's probably what's going to happen with Braden. So I can't wait to see how they transform this character for the rest of the season.
I would prefer Becca end up being the one that's the crack addict. Like,
hey, that could happen. That could happen.
I mean,
yes.
Braden's going through things himself, but I would prefer that. But it would be just you're wasting such a good character.
Yeah.
By giving him an addiction. So let's just hope that it's like a little sniff and puff, and that's it. And we're good.
Well,
you're trying.
Just remember, his addiction is also to Trouble, the name of the girl in this episode. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because trouble is not a good thing.
Yeah, I think if Braden does keep sniffing, he's going to be a functional addict. Like he's still going to be normal, but like, he just takes drugs on the side. There are functional people who sniff, so he's probably going to be like that. But his sister definitely seems like she's going down that path, though. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, because and I do agree with what Dana said. Something probably needs to happen to that character because this is how she is dealing with all the stuff happening with the family, the fact that the name has been tarnished. So they need to have somebody have like a negative effect from this. You saw Trace get knocked out in the premiere, so that was his. That was what happened to him. The father's like disowning, and they revealed he's a racist. Yes, so something should happen to her. Yeah, I think that would be good. So, but we'll see what happens.
See, I want to see. I hope they do something with Trace aside from just knock him out. Trace needs something to happen to him. I want more of a Trace storyline too, because we're talking about the downfall of a family. You know, Trace is just as evil as all the rest of them. So, give me my Trace downfall. And then the dad, he's just looking. They moved, so I'm going to assume Trace moved with dad because they left that house, but we just don't know where. Did they go to Connecticut? We don't know. Good.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, today is Juneteenth, so we are not going to talk about Father Weston right now because that would be disrespectful. So, but yeah, I do want to see what happens with the rest of the family though, because we need to see more of them. It can't just be, you know, Kane punches Trace and the dad is a racist and then that's it. I think we need to see more of, you know, especially with Becca now obviously getting evicted and she seems like she's taking drugs. I think we need to see what happens next to this family. I have been enjoying seeing the fallout from the whole Western Holdings fiasco. Like it does seem like it's hit the family hard. So I like that there's consequences for everything that happened last season. But yeah, I do want to see what continues to happen to the Western family in this. So that's something I'm looking forward to. But yeah, was that it for final thoughts? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we ran a bit longer today, but it's cool because the discussion was good, very fruitful. So yeah, but with that being said, that is going to be the end of this episode, and we will return next week to discuss episode 4. So, you know, until then, everybody have a nice weekend, and week following, and we'll chat to you guys next week. Peace out.